4, 3, 2, 1. Gracias, Astu, por esa suscripción. Te quiero.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to the Work From Home edition of our Path of Exile announcement livestream. Thanks for joining us as we discuss all the details of the upcoming Path of Exile Scourge expansion, which releases on October 22nd for PC and October 27th on console. For today's livestream, Twitch drops are enabled. Check out the link below the stream for more information on how to claim your free Dragonfly wings. First up, we'll showcase the trailer for Path of Exile Scourge.
Guild Improvement, ya he fallado. Ya he fallado. Hostia, de New MVP, tío. No sé qué decirte, tío. Nivel 5 del hype de golpe. Estás loco.
Content we're adding for you to benchmark your best characters against. Next up, we'll talk about some big improvements to the passive skill tree and we'll reveal this expansion's new skills. After discussing some balance changes and the new guild quality of life features,
vale,
we'll
que eso, nos dicen todo lo que van a hacer. Vale, ok.
Streamer Ziggy D. Oh, and after the Q&A, we'll post the entire expansion's patch notes. I'm proud to present the official trailer for Path of Exile Scourge.
Vale, que todo eso lo que han dicho es lo que van a hablar hoy, es como un índice. Vale, vale, el tráiler, que viene. No puedo, eso también lo fallamos. Que viene. Vamos, modo diablo.
The day the demons found our world.
¡Demonios! ¡Demonios! ¡Va a ser modo diablo! ¡Sí! ¡Sí! ¡Lo sabía! ¡Lo sabía! ¡Soy buenísimo! ¡Diablo! ¡Hola! ¡Qué guapo! Lo sabía, el modo diablo. Rollo delirium. Dios santo, qué bonito. ¡Hola! Y tiene timer. Mira, mira la barra de arriba. O sea, ¡hala! ¡Un tornado! ¡Tornado de fuego! ¿Qué es eso? ¡Hala! ¡Corrupción! ¡What! ¡Hala! ¿Qué dices? ¡118 mapas! Lo he visto. Lo he visto. Uber Endgame Content. ¡Hala! ¡Qué guapo el árbol nuevo! ¡Hala, hala! ¡Hala! ¿Qué dices? ¡Mejoran el árbol! ¡Hideouts de Guild!
They are ravenous.
¿Quién?
They are endless.
Pero ¿quién es la voz? ¿Quién es la voz? ¡Dios mío! ¡Hala! ¿Dónde está la gente que no tenía hype?
The Path of Exile Scourge expansion contains a lot of new content and features that we'll reveal to you today. Let's start with its namesake, the Scourge Challenge League.
Lo que significa el nombre de la liga. ¿Qué dices? El modo diablo.
You're startled by a figure appearing
Alguna tenía que
trying to
aceptar.
escape from something you can't see. She hands you a rusty-looking
Tienes
device
que escapar de algo que no puedes ver.
you to implant it into your body. As you play
Te
through each
implantan
area
como
in
la
Scourge
oscuridad.
Challenge League, the blood crucible fills with the blood spilled by monsters you have slain. Once
Vale.
it reaches a certain
Ganas
threshold,
sangre cuando matas. Y cuando se llena se
This
activa
will
el...
instantly thrust you into a parallel reality,
Se activa el
an
modo.
alternate raycast where some form of apocalyptic event is occurring.
Y
This
tienes un
raycast is
evento
overrun by demons known as the Scourge. They're
con
powerful,
demonios
dangerous, and come
muy
in many
duros,
forms.
y
The
difíciles.
more blood you have collected,
Dangerous,
the longer you can
peligrosos,
stay
no
shifted
difíciles.
into the parallel raycast. But the longer you stay, the more
De crear
damage
que
you
os
take.
funcionen los drops.
When the crucible's blood runs out or you choose to shift back, you are instantly returned to your original location in our rayclass to continue your journey.
Claro, luego te devuelven a lo que estabas haciendo y
So
siguen
why
normal.
enter an alternate reality to fight a horde of ravenous demons? The answer to that question is exactly what you expect from Path of Exile.
Wow.
You're not there to save the world, you're there to find cool items. You can put an item inside the blood crucible.
O sea, guardas,
While you were killing
o sea,
the
metes un
Scourge, it
objeto ahí.
absorbs corruption from the alternate ray class and focuses it onto the item.
Espera. O sea, matas
enough
bichos,
kills, your items
absorbes
ready to transform.
mierdas.
When it does,
Y eso
it
te sirve
becomes
para
corrupted
corromper
and gains a
objetos.
pair of scourged
Sí.
modifiers.
Que los peta. Mira, le ha aumentado la inteligencia y le ha dado física al damage plano, como un sintetizado. Pero se vuelve corrupto. Wow. Resistencias, daño de fuego plano, Consecrated Ground. Tienen tiers. Una doble corrupción de gratis. Pero tienen una cosa negativa y una cosa positiva. Mira, este por ejemplo tiene Call to Arms y nunca haces crítico. Y la otra tiene los enemigos tienen más resistencias pero regeneras maná. Wow. Puedes mejorarla una segunda vez. LOL, 9% Impale Effect. Vale. Es como rollo talismán, pero a los objetos. Se parece a talismán. ¡Hola! Hay tier 3. Chance to deal triple damage. ¡Hola! También funcionan objetos corruptos. Más uno to level. No, menos uno to level socketed gem. Wicked Ward. ¡Hola! Vale, y sacan objetos tainted, básicamente Fuzzings, Jewelers y Chromatics que funcionan en objetos corruptos. Triple damage, sí. Vale.
Provide a significantly easier and cheaper way of modifying the sockets on your corrupted items than the crafting bench does.
Vale, dice que te consiguen un 6 socket más barato que la crafting bench. Con lo cual, vale, en principio van a ser mejores que los Fuzzings. Lo que más o menos preveíamos. Se acabaron los objetos mirror, ¿eh? No creo, pero... ¿What? ¡Ah! ¡Hala! ¿Qué dices? ¿What? Más skills.
Better transformation outcomes, the ability to transform unique items, and so on.
Ah, vale, le dan fuerza a tu corrupción. Hostia, vas a poder mejorar tus corrupciones.
Scourge's endgame is one where you control the level of risk and reward, or as we like to say in the business, it has a lot of player agency. Once you're exploring the Atlas of Worlds, you may gain the ability to place maps in the Blood Crucible alongside your equipment. When a map absorbs enough corruption and transforms, it gains a beneficial and detrimental effect in the same way that a piece of equipment does. It can also gain a modifier that changes the behavior of Scourge League in that map entirely.
Son como mapas super tochos. Mira, Rare Scourge Monster Drop One Additional Basic Currency Item. ¡No aprenden! ¡No aprenden!
10 times, increasing their risk and reward substantially each time.
¿Hasta 10 veces ha dicho o soy yo? Campos, muchas gracias por ese Prime. Pero que tienes que mapear, si no te comes un mojón. Son crafteos que no puedes comprar. Tienes que mapear, si no, no puedes sacar sulfito del demonio de ese. ¡Ostras!
Path of Exile Scourge
Nuevos
introduces
únicos.
6 new unique items,
6
of which
únicos.
3 have been added to the core drop pool and 3 can be found in specific aspirational content that we'll reveal later in the live stream.
6 únicos, 3 especiales y 3 al drop general.
Effectively enables you to turn any 6-linked body armor into a 7-link. Support gems you socket into this amulet apply to skills in your body armor. While specific mods on items have allowed players to create 7-link skills in the past,
¡Hala! ¿Qué dices? O sea, puedes hacer que tu armadura sea 7 link.
It's only possible to find this unique item in specific content that we'll reveal later in the live stream.
Eso es un talismán.
The new Mage Blood Belt is one of the most powerful unique items to ever exist in Path of Exile.
Uno de los más fuertes que nunca ha existido. A ver.
Providing their benefits constantly with no work required on your part. This belt means that regardless of what your build is, you'll sustain your utility flasks during 100% of gameplay, even long boss fights. Mage Blood is in the core drop pool and is exceptionally rare.
¿Qué cojones?
Early next year, we will release a huge overhaul
Mantiene
of Path of
tus
Exile's
frascos
Atlas of Worlds endgame in the
siempre
3.17
activos.
expansion. In the meantime, though, our October Scourge expansion introduces a bunch of changes that
Pero
speed
eso
up
puede
how
ser
quickly
muy
you can set
bestia.
up and progress
Jubel,
through
muchas
your
gracias por el
Atlas.
Prime.
We're also introducing more types
Vale,
of
aquí la mejora del
ultra-challenging
Atlas que
in-game
habíamos
content for
hablado.
top players who want to put their best characters to the test.
Gracias, Jubel, tío.
In order to
Dios,
substantially shorten
qué raro
the
el
length of the
mapa,
Atlas
el
Square,
Atlas
we've
así.
reduced the number of regions from 8 to 4. This implicitly reduces the number of watchstones required.
118 mapas.
16.
Antipirina,
We have
guapo.
also
Gracias.
reduced the number of
3
maps on the
meses.
atlas, so it's now approximately 100 plus the unique maps. We've rebalanced the bonuses for completing
100
content so that by the
plus
time your
unique
atlas is
map, ha
fully
dicho.
unlocked, you receive a slightly higher level of benefit than you did before. Because the
Más de
number
100
of
mapas
regions has been
únicos.
halved, so have the number of atlas passive
Oh,
trees.
ves, eso es
There
lo
are
que
now
dije.
4 plus
Más
the
pasivas
Uncharted realms.
y demás.
We've made these
Genial.
trees slightly larger and removed some
Genial,
less
esto es
frequently used
increíble
or
para el
duplicate
farmeo.
skills.
Está
You'll still be
mostrando
awarded the
algunas,
same number
luego
of
las
atlas
analizamos,
passes
ahora es
scored
imposible.
With these changes,
Dios.
each map you play constitutes far
Las
more progress than
combinaciones que
previously.
pueden salir de ahí
But
son
half as much work is
increíbles.
now required to reach Path of Exile's ultimate endgame.
Delirium con Blight
We've
o
made
alguna
some other
mierda de
changes to
esas.
streamline the endgame also. For example, now when you unveil a modifier, all tiers of that modifier are immediately unlocked at the crafting bench. This applies to every veiled modifier, including the very rare ones.
No entiendo. O sea que un bailear va a ser mejor. Ok.
Many of Path
Vale.
of Exile's past leagues have an endgame
Vale, esto es el
component
Uber
that is designed
content.
to challenge the best players with the best builds.
Sí,
Over
se unieron las
time, more
zonas.
and
Ahora
more
son
Path of
4, pero
Exile's
más
experienced
tochas.
players have managed to defeat the game's hardest content.
Buen cambio, al
Our
conseguir un
most
baile te da todos
difficult
los
in-game
tiers. Sí,
content doesn't pose as
sí,
much
sí,
of
sí,
a
va a haber
challenge
guías
as
de
it
todo
once
esto.
did.
Qué increíble.
In the Scourge expansion, we have added a set of new aspirational content, Uber versions of Breach, Blight, Legion, an extension to Delirium's Simulacrum, and a revamp.
Simulacro, lo sabía. Sabía que había Uber simulacro.
Breach's endgame involves running Breach Stones, which can be placed in the map device to open portals to a Breach Lord's domain. For each Breach Lord, there are currently 4 tiers of Breach Stones.
Vale.
and
Ah,
you can
vale.
upgrade
Entonces
between
con
them using
Blessing, ¿no?
blessings. Path of Exile Scourge introduces a new tier,
Ah, no.
Flawless Breach Stones. These can't be obtained via blessings, but are instead
Ah.
found in the Maven encounters where you fight the Breach Lords in their most challenging forms. These flawless Breach Stones require a substantially more powerful character to complete.
Puedes mejorarlo
with
con
rewards
Blessing o te
appropriate
caen
for
de las
difficulty.
peleas de Maven.
Existing Breach Stones now have 2 random modifiers. From a rule, it doesn't include build disabling ones, such as not being able to leech. And the new Flawless Breach Stones have 4 of these modifiers, which represents a significant jump in difficulty. They can drop special versions of the Grasping Male body armor, which has a specific fractured modifier.
Oh,
themed
pueden
around the Breach Lord.
dropear armas especiales.
The Ulnatol's Vow unique amulet we revealed
Sí,
earlier
peleas
can
de
only be
Maven.
obtained
Es
through
decir, que
Flawless
por ejemplo
Breach
hacer una
Stones.
brecha con Maven mirando.
All Breach Stones have been modified so that
Y
the
aquí es
items
donde
you
puede
earn from
caer el
monsters
amuleto
are now
este que
dropped
hemos
in
visto.
spiral at your feet when you complete or fail the event. In addition, rare monsters and breach domains drop an additional random reward types such as scarabs, maps, or divination cards.
Dropea al
with
final.
Flawless Breach Stones adding 2 additional
Eso es
reward
una
types.
mejora
All
buenísima.
Breach Stones are far more
Para que,
rewarding.
para que pararnos no nos suponga morirnos.
Blighted maps were previously our pinnacle
Vale.
Blight content and could be anointed up to 3 times to increase their difficulty and rewards. In the Scourge expansion, while you're playing Blighted maps, you may find a Blight Ravaged map. These have increased monster difficulty and are always monster level 85. They can be anointed up to 9 times with up to 3 of any one type of anointment. These incredibly challenging encounters can also yield one of Scourge's powerful new unique items.
Vale. Que van a caer
In
poderosos
Legion, you
objetos
can combine up to
únicos.
5
He
timeless
escuchado.
emblems to enter the domain of timeless conflict. While
Vale,
playing the domain
perdona,
in this
chicos.
expansion, you can find unrelenting emblems, which can be mixed and matched with timeless emblems for a substantially more challenging and rewarding encounter.
More challenging and rewarding. A ver cuánto es ese
Delirium's
rewarding.
Simulacrum encounter has
Porque
been
tiene pinta de
extended,
que es
with
muy
10
difícil.
additional waves of combat. As you can
Wow.
expect, these extremely difficult extra waves are very rewarding.
¿Estáis avanzando en el
feature
drop?
escalating
¿Os va bien?
chances for a Delirium boss to spawn. With each wave you play, the Simulacrum now has increasing chances of dropping cluster jewels and past wave
Vale,
20
más
Delirium
clusters.
unique items.
Ok.
Previously, you could only get a maximum of 1 Delirium unique item per Simulacrum, but now you can walk out with multiple high-value items such as voices. Simulacrums not only represent a lot more value now, but also an opportunity to truly test your
No lo he
character
escuchado
against
del
some of
todo.
Path of Exile's hardest content.
¿Dónde se ve
In
el drop?
addition,
Arriba a la derecha
Delirium
en tu
orbs are now a
perfil.
lot more common, and Delirium's rewards have been improved due to less popular ones like Prophecy and Talisman being removed entirely.
Han quitado Talismán y Prophecy de Delirio.
We've
El
made quite a
mejor
few
cambio
changes
de
to
la
Delve in
historia.
the Scourge expansion.
No, Joe.
The first
Me da igual el
change is that we've
resto.
completely
Me da igual que
rebalanced the
caigan más
entire thing,
cosas.
so it's just more
Se
rewarding and
celebra.
more challenging
Se
in
celebra.
the depths.
Se celebra.
In general, monsters scale to have more life but less damage than
Pues
before.
revisa
We've
tu
improved
cuenta,
monster
Luchu.
skills and biomodifiers
En
to make deeper
Infodrops.
depths more challenging to go with their better rewards.
En el primer enlace. Asegúrate de
Through these
linkar tu
changes,
cuenta de
we've
Twitch.
wiped the standard delve levels,
Firmo,
but have
todo es.
retained your previous depth
Hazte
on
una
the
horas.
characters.
Oh, wait.
To get back on the ladder, just play at whatever depth
Da igual, pero
you're
ahora
to complete.
te van a salir otras cosas,
We've
Willem.
also
No es
improved
que
the delve
no
catch-up
te dropeen.
Previously,
Delve, ¿qué le
if you
hacen a
entered
Delve?
delve for the first time at level 90, you'd be taken to a depth that is the equivalent of tier 1 maps. Now we'll be taken to the equivalent of tier 13 maps. This means that if you
Vale.
want, you can essentially ignore delve
Os-
until the late game rather than having to play as you go. We've increased the base
¡Hostia!
soul cap
Te
from
mete
600 to
directamente
1200.
abajo.
Underground cities are now more common and you'll encounter
Te mete
bosses more
directamente
often,
en el
including
ítem
all.
level 80. Eso es tochísimo para
You
el
can
grindo
rarely
de
find
leveo.
fractured items
Wow.
with delve modifiers on them. We've
Vale,
also
van a
increased
dropear
fossil
más
and
objetos.
resonator availability
Gracias.
throughout
Los
the
bosses de
Azure
liga van a dropear
availability
ítem.
outside of
Menos
delve
mal,
has
ya
been
era hora.
reduced.
Por Dios.
All resonators dropped
Wow.
now chaotic resonators, with alchemical resonators not dropping anymore.
Vale.
We've also improved the least powerful
Qué
fossils.
bueno es este cambio. Solo nos van a caer los resonadores amarillos. A tomar por saco los blancos. Bien.
It
Y
has
me va
been
a
a long
hacer
time since
bien
we've
por
done a big
suscribirte.
rework
Gracias,
of Path
guapo.
of Exile's iconic passive
Y
skill tree.
cambian el árbol.
The
Ojo
Scourge
a lo que se
expansion
viene en el
includes
árbol.
quite a lot of
Ojo.
changes, and before I list
Mirad,
them, I want
atentos
to
a
emphasize
esto,
that our
los que no
goal
lo
here
hayáis
has been
visto.
to keep the tree as similar to before as possible.
Ahora hay
All of your years
zonas
of
en el
muscle
árbol
memory
que
will
si
not be
pillas
wasted. The
todos
tree
los
will still
nodos te
feel
da un
like the back of
efecto
your hand,
extra.
despite our changes.
Ojo. Ojo, mirad, mirad,
While
mirad,
planning this
mirad.
rework, we examined every aspect of the passive skill tree.
Mira, mira, mira,
We
mira las
reviewed and
zonas.
improved each of the tree's class start
Increíble.
areas, we added new clusters of skills, improved existing ones, and concentrated power more directly on each skill's primary function. The process of doing
Una
this
liga con
identified that many
contenido.
passive skills had niche stats that didn't matter
Joder,
to most
ya era hora.
characters or distracted away from the purpose of what the skill was trying to do.
Sí, ya
When we
cuentas.
took niche
Actualiza la
stats away
página,
from the
Luchus.
skill, we buffed the primary function of the skill so that it was more concentrated on one purpose.
Os lo dije.
While I'm sure that powerful passive skills sound great to you,
Llevo
you're
diciéndolo
probably
3 ligas,
wondering
pero
what
bueno,
happened
alguna
to
tenía que
all those niche
acertar.
stats.
Bien.
You see, while we were doing this revamp, we realized that specific builds
Wow.
enabling niche stats appearing in specific locations on the tree actually constrained players' passive builds in quite severe ways. Players who wanted to get several specific niche stats often had little flexibility with the rest of their tree because they had to plan around getting to the specific
Joder, pero es que
clusters
ahora
that
los
had those niche
circulitos
stats
dan,
in them.
dan cosas
We
extras.
decided we wanted to solve both problems at once here, to move niche stats off the main
Dios.
tree, but also to provide a way to get them,
Sí,
preferably
esto
from
más.
many different locations all over the passive skill tree. And that's
Wow.
how we came up with
Van a estar a lo largo de todo el árbol.
Outside
Enséñame
of the class
alguna.
start locations, all passive skill clusters that have a notable passive in them now contain
Todos
passive mastery.
los huecos
When you
grandes
allocate
van a
the
tener
first
una
notable
pasiva
passive in each
extra.
cluster, a mastery
Mira.
becomes available to allocate in that cluster. When you spend a passive skill point on the mastery, you can choose a specific stat to gain.
¡Hala!
This
Encima lo
list is
puedes
shared with all the
elegir.
clusters on the tree that have the same theme, so you can travel to any of them to get the stat you want. As you allocate a
Pero la
mastery stat, it's crossed
personalización
off the
queda
list for
esto
that
es
theme.
increíble. La personalización queda esto. Puedas
This
elegir
mastery
lo que te es
system has essentially
útil.
let us add hundreds of powerful
¡Hala! Ya no
non-notable
más, ya no más
passives and
nodos que te
connectors
dan
from all
Fire
over the
Damas
tree.
y Damas
In
Overtime.
addition to the stats
No, ahora
that
lo
we moved into
eliges.
masteries when consolidating power on the rest of the tree, we
Bien,
got to come up
joder,
with a
qué
bunch of new
bueno es
interesting niche
esto.
stuff to enable even more builds. We've also rebalanced a few keystone passives, changed the locations of some, and added 6 new keystones to the tree.
¡Hala! Pero gasta... No, gasta un
Overall,
punto que
Path of
quieras.
Exile's
No.
passive skill tree is now a lot more powerful, with concentrated power coming
No,
from
fíjate,
core
lo ha
passives,
quitado
and a
y
selection
no le ha
of build
quitado
enabling
ningún
niche
punto
stats
de
available
pasiva.
on masteries for you to pick between.
Y ni le ha dado otro. ¿Ves? Nada más se pone el
Path of
este,
Exile
se le activa al
Scourge
interior.
introduces a whole variety of new skill gems with many different purposes. Two
¡Wow!
of them are new concepts unlike anything we have done before.
¡Qué
These ones are designed to
maravilloso!
immediately create entirely new builds that have a lot of potential. There's also a utility skill that will help characters stay alive, a
What?
variation on an existing skill gem, and 6
10
new gems
gemas.
designed for party play.
O-
Let's go
o
through
son-
the new skills.
Son unas pocas y otras reworkean. Creo
Energy
que van a
Blade is
mejorar
a new
algunas.
skill that
Energy
transforms your
Blade.
melee weapons into, well, energy blades. A large portion of your energy shield is converted into the lightning damage that these blades deal. This opens up an entirely new melee energy shield archetype, where you want to stack as much energy shield as possible to get the most
¿Sí?
powerful blades you can.
No, pero que no,
Conveniently,
no
the
es...
defenses
No,
rework in
no.
this expansion is
No,
very
no.
compatible with this plan.
No es eso, Ebayuko. Puedes elegir tu
Temporal Rift is
habilidad.
a new utility skill that allows you to rewind your character's state by 4
Temporal
seconds.
Rift.
After activating the skill, it starts
Ah.
storing your position, life, mana, and energy shield
Te devuelve
values
hacia
every quarter
atrás.
second.
Y te restaura.
When you use
¡Hala!
the
Y te
skill
devuelve
again,
como
you
la
will
ulti
rerun
de
back
Echo.
to
Te
4
devuelve
seconds
como estabas. Anda, qué guapo. Te
The build
devuelve el
shown
mana y
here
la
uses
vida
the
que
Forbidden
tenías.
Right skill introduced in the last expansion. This skill does a lot of damage, but also hurts the caster when used. Temporal
Vale.
Rift allows this player
Minuto
to snapshot their
silencio,
full
F
life
en el chat. Todo el
cast
mundo una
Forbidden
F.
Right a lot, and then revert back to full life to keep casting. Not only
Una
is
F.
Temporal Rift incredibly useful in hardcore mode for obvious reasons, or while exploring maps efficiently, but it also enables some interesting tricks with mana. Come to think of it, it'll be pretty cool in Delve as well if you don't mess up the timing.
What?
Temporal Rift also prevents temporal chains from affecting you while it is in use.
What? Hace que Temporal Chain no te afecte cuando la uses.
Tornado is another new
Hielo.
skill.
¡Hola,
As the
tornado!
name
Esta la quiero
suggests,
ver.
it creates a tornado that
¡Qué
relentlessly
guapa!
moves towards enemies and pulses with damage. While the tornado is forming, you have a couple of seconds where it will absorb damage from projectiles you hit it with. Fire as many projectiles as you can into it during that period, and it'll power up, greatly increasing its damage output.
No he tenido tiempo de leerla, luego la miro.
Introduced a skill called Explosive Concoction. Based on player
Vale,
feedback,
Explosive
we're improving the
Concoction.
skills so that its projectiles are thrown faster, have a higher base crit chance, and have greater speed. Now that we feel that Explosive Concoction is sufficiently powerful, we're introducing a similar new skill called Poisonous Concoction. As the name
Poisonous
implies, this
Concoction.
one deals poison damage rather than fire
Vale,
damage.
que lanza lo
It
mismo
consumes
pero para el
charges from
daño de
life
veneno.
flasks
Bueno,
rather than your
no
elemental
sé.
flasks.
A ver, no me ha gustado mucho la
Poisonous
habilidad,
Concoction
así que
scales
bueno,
its
no voy a
damage
decir
based on how
nada,
much
pero...
life the consumed flasks recover, which encourages you to craft your flasks.
El tornado se alimentará del elemento que uses en tu siguiente habilidad. ¡Qué maravilla! Lo del veneno, ojito, que a lo mejor volvemos a la resurrección.
It's quite rare for us to introduce skills that only work for party play. But in the Scourge
¡Hala!
expansion,
Skills
we've
que solo
created a set of
funcionan en
6
party.
that function in similar ways but do different things.
Oye,
These
¿quién me
link
soporte agua?
skills create a bond
¿Quién
between
quiere
you and a
soportearme
specific
esta
party
liga?
member, providing a big benefit to them while they stay within range.
Pero si
but
te
with a very
alejas, no
important drawback
funciona.
that if they die, so
Hugo
do
en
you.
el chat, por favor. Hugo.
Soul Link protects your target by causing
Soul
a percentage
Link
of
protege
damage
al
they
target.
dealt to be applied to your energy shield instead. If you have built a tanky character with a lot of energy shield, then you and your target will be protected by it. Protective Link grants your target a chance to block attacks that is equal to yours, and also
Protective
grants them
Link
life gain
bloquea.
and block to them. By
Vale,
default, the obvious use
vale.
of this link skill is to remind
Firmo
you
el
to
cambio a los
special
Aurabot. A
item,
tomar
and
por
use it to
saco los
protect an
Aurabot.
ally that is specialized in
Vale,
something else, like
ok.
damage. But there are some cool
Guay,
tricks you might
podemos
discover.
tener un personaje
For example,
tanque y un
the glancing
personaje
blows
DPS en
keystone
una
passive
party
doubles
y que
your
el
block
personaje
chance, but
tanque
changes that
ayude al
still take some damage
DPS.
from
Joder,
attacks.
¿por qué es
In conjunction
tan
with
difícil
protective
es hacer
link,
las
your target
cosas
will
bien?
receive your
Joder,
double
bien
block chance,
hecho.
but won't receive the drawback. Intuitive Link is socketed alongside a spell on your character, and that spell is triggered from your target's location when they hit an enemy. This could be useful, for example,
Un
if you
custom
have a party
critical
member who's
friend.
cycloning through enemies, and you can trigger your spells from within those packs of enemies without having
Un
to
custom
focus yourself.
critical friend. Me encanta.
There are 3 other
Un
link
amigo
skills that
custom
we will
critical.
reveal closer to release. As this expansion does include significant nerfs to Aurabot characters who stack auras for the benefit of their party members, these link skills give them a viable, more active playstyle. Link skills cannot normally be used with your minions, but we're adding a minion mastery to the
Link
passive
skill
skill tree
can
that
target
allows you to
minion.
use link skills with them.
Ah,
However, this has a
vale.
high ongoing mana cost that is difficult to stay on top of.
Vale. Vale,
In Path of Exile
Oseron,
Scourge, we've
la
done a
gente
lot
que
of
no tiene
balance work,
amigos,
improving
podéis llevar
flasks, element
minions.
mitigation,
No,
general
Ebayuko,
character
no.
defenses, and elemental damage over time. We've made some changes to how stacking auras and curses works, and have buffed most awakened
No era
support
tan
gems.
difícil.
We've posted about the changes we intend in
No
the
era
last
tan-
couple of
no
weeks,
era tan
and
difícil,
have been
Alejandro.
iterating on these changes based
Qué
on testing
bueno,
and your
joder,
feedback.
Qué bueno.
We are posting the full Scourge patch notes after the Q&A portion of this live stream, so we'd encourage you to check out the full details of the balance changes there. We first introduced guilds
The guild
alongside Path of
improvements.
Exile's initial release in October 2013. Our guild leaders and members have been patient for a very long time, and after 8 years, we're rewarding that patience with a wave of guild quality of life features. As a game about items, the functional heart of a Path of Exile guild is its stash. You can finally control-click items into and out of your guild stash and access
Control
other
click en
features
el guild
such as the
stash.
drop-down list of stashes, drag-and-drop stash ordering, affinities,
Ah,
etc.
espera.
We have also introduced guild versions of all of the types of premium stash tabs, so guilds can finally enjoy popular tabs such as currency or map tabs. While shared guild tabs are a little more expensive than individual tabs because of their server costs and development overhead, we have bundled all of the
¿Quién
exotic
para
lists
donar
together
dinero en
in
la
a single
guild, por
discounted
favor?
bundle for guilds that want
Gracias.
to invest in the whole lot at
Ah, es
once.
broma, es broma, es broma.
We have also added the ability to export a CSV file of your guild stash activity log for convenient auditing. We wanted to pair functional with fun, so we've introduced guild hideouts. Guild leaders
Va a
can
exportar
select
un
any
Excel
in-game
para
or
ver quién ha
microtransaction
cogido y ha
hideout
dejado
they
las
have
cosas.
unlocked and create a guild
Han
hideout
añadido
based on
todas
a
las
template.
pestañas que
These
había
hideouts
en la
are a
guild
great place
stats
to hold
y ahora hay
guild
un
meetings
hideout
that
de la
just have
guild.
as a space for members to meet up between maps. If you're hanging out in your guild's hideout, you can use its map device as though it was your
Puedo
own.
utilizar el map device
We
en el
understand that
guild
not everyone is
stats
in a guild, so there's one hideout related feature that
y
we wanted to
cualquiera puede
mention.
usarlo.
We have entirely removed the favor system from Path of Exile. From this expansion onwards, all hideout decorations that could previously be obtained with favor are now available to all players in unlimited quantities, both personal and guild
Podemos
hideouts.
hacernos el hideout que
Now,
queramos
there's nothing
sin el
stopping you
favor.
from making the hideout of
Lo
your dreams.
siento, Bloster, si estás escuchando esto.
We've also
Estuvo
added a
farmeando
system that
Alba.
allows you to filter decorations by tag because there are just so many available to you by default now.
Wow.
Alongside Path of Exile Scourge, we're introducing the Expedition content from our last expansion into Path of Exile's core game.
Vale,
with a few
Expedition
adjustments.
Valcore, me parece bien.
Expedition
Era una
artifacts are no
mecánica
longer
que estaba
tradable
bien
items,
hecha,
which has two
la
key
verdad.
effects. The first is that they are automatically collected as you complete expeditions, and the second is that all characters can now engage
Cuando
with the
termines una expedición se colecta todo automáticamente. No, no han dicho nada de ultimátum aún.
It's a difficult decision working out whether to make specific items tradable or not, but we feel that on balance, this new approach will solve several problems with the system. It's also worth noting that the currency items that allow you to re-roll the vendor's inventories are still tradable. You'll start finding expeditions from Act 6 onwards. There's an 8% chance for a map to contain an expedition, and they can be further
añade
augmented through
nodos de
investment in the appropriate
expedición.
Atlas passive skill tree.
Vale, me parece bien.
As we move new leagues to core, we will replace outdated, obsolete content. In this case, Expedition replaces Perandus. Details are in the patch notes.
Tomar por culo Perandos. Gracias. Mira el... Bien. Bien. Bien.
While clicking on items is a critical part of playing an
Ojo.
action RPG, there's a fine line before it becomes a chore,
Ojo.
and we're trying hard to make sure that clicks on
Mirad.
items come with appropriate reward.
Cambios a la hora de
Expedition
recoger
artifacts
drops,
being
de dropear
automatically
objetos
picked up isn't
y
the only
stackear.
improvement we're making
Vamos
to
a ver.
reduce unnecessary clicks in this
Una
expansion.
F por Perandus.
In order to make sure that each stack of currency items is worth a click, we're trying out a system where currency items drop less frequently, but in larger stack sizes. For example, Scrolls of Wisdom in the late game might drop 1/10 of the time, but when they do, it'd be in
Los
stacks of
Scroll of
6 to
Wisdom
14.
en late dropearán de
This
10
means
en
that the
10.
click that you will make will gain you a much more meaningful amount of currency at once. We have
O sea,
applied
que
this to many different types
dropeará
of currency
menos
items, and the
currency,
effect of the
pero
system
más
gets larger as you
stackeada.
get further into the game. In addition, we've had a look at instances where item drops happen simultaneously, and we've made it so that items that can drop in stacks will automatically do so. This includes at the end of delves, incursions,
recogen en
rituals,
stacks
blighting
automáticamente.
counters, breach
Me
zones,
sirve.
and the simulacra.
Me sirve.
We have also applied this approach to many chests and areas like splinter drops throughout Path of Exile.
Se han mejorado muchas zonas para que dropeen.
Before we move on to our final announcement and live Q&A, let's have a quick look at the new set of
Wow.
supporter packs that are available right now to celebrate the launch of Path of Exile Scourge and help fund ongoing development of Path of Exile. Based on player feedback, we've increased the value of the $30 and $60 supporter packs by adding
Lo
$5
sabía.
worth of points to each
Lo
one.
sabía.
This
Lo
means that you
sabía.
now receive
Os
the
lo
full
dije.
value of what you
Os
spend
lo
in
dije.
points, with the new sets
Os
of
lo dije.
exclusive
Han mejorado
opening
los
microtransactions on
los
top.
supporter pack baratos.
These include armor
Os lo
sets,
dije.
weapon skins, portals, shields, and helmet attachments. The Ancient Dread pack
Os lo
contains an
dije.
exclusive pair of
Hay que
wings,
vender
and the
dinerito, hay que
Intrepid
aprovechar
Liege
una
pack
buena
contains an
liga.
exclusive pet. These new packs each have 3 value tiers
¡Hala,
that
un
you can trade
Patronus!
between within their respective
Un
series.
Patronus.
Thank you so much for your support. Purchases of these supporter packs make expansions like Scourge possible.
Harry. ¿Eres tú, Harry?
Shortly we'll begin our Q&A and we'll answer your burning questions. But first, we have another quick announcement to make. In the Expedition League, we teamed up with Twitch Rivals to
¿Imaginas
run
que
our
salgo?
first ever Path of Exile Royale live tournament. This event saw our favorite content creators teaming up in pairs to compete for awesome prizes. We're excited to announce that following the launch of Path of Exile Scourge, we're doing it again. This time around, competitors will compete alone, but we've added a unique twist. Towards the
Vale.
end of the match, surviving
Individual
players may
en vez de
encounter a
party.
brutal but rewarding boss fight, which could have significant strategic implications for how they play the match. There's
divertido,
$30,000 of cash on the line alongside some of Path of Exile's best microtransactions. Tune in on October 28th at twitch.tv/twitchrivals to see who will decimate their competition.
Vale.
That concludes the reveal portion of this livestream. Keep an eye on our news next week as we reveal more details about the Scourge expansion. In the meantime, these reveals are already live on YouTube for you to link to your friends in case they missed the livestream. Please do so and join us as we battle the Scourge alongside you next week. It's now time for the Q&A. If you have any questions about what we've shown you today, please get them ready because I'm about to be joined by Ziggy D as we answer your questions from Twitch chat, and after that, we'll be posting the full Path of Exile Scourge patch notes.
Estoy procesando, ¿eh? Estoy procesando. Espérate. Espera. Sí, pero ahora te retransmito yo la pantalla. Deja de compartir. A ver. Hay que hablar. Hay que hablar.